Kill Complacency, a podcast that inspires growth and intentionality and helps you overcome your greatest obstacles.
Okay, so I have one of my favorite people. It is my favorite person in the world on the podcast today, and it is my wife, Ginger Ian Hofmann. Ginger has put up with me for more than 24 years, longer than anybody else, and she still loves me.
I do.
And something that we experienced recently, we've experienced it several times, but it's the FamilyLife Love Like You Mean It cruise. And it is a marriage cruise. And it has been revolutionary to our marriage. And I wanted to get Ginger on today to help me talk about it, help me share about it, and help me inspire you all, my listeners, to consider it and consider it for your marriage. So Ginger, could you give us the backstory? How did we hear about the Love Like You Mean It cruise?
So we've heard about the Love Like You Mean It cruise from your sister, who went on it in, I think, 2017. And she has a large family, and so her kids came and stayed with us while she and her husband went on this cruise. And we had a really great time with her kids, but I honestly don't remember thinking about it seriously for us at all.
I said I would never do a cruise. And partly because I had heard so many negative things about cruises. It was Las Vegas on the sea.
Right. Yeah. So I think we always just said, oh, we're not cruise people, whatever. So then fast forward to 2020, and your same sister again has entered a giveaway for this cruise, and she could have other people enter it under her, which would give her more entries. And so you, being a good brother, entered this giveaway so that you could help her out as she was trying to win the cruise. But we really didn't give it any serious thought at all as to us. In fact, I don't even know if I knew that you had entered it. Maybe you mentioned it to me, but I don't remember even thinking anything about it. But then one day you came to me and you said, hey, I got this email and I think that we won a cruise. And I thought, what in the world? And so you did some research and called FamilyLife, and sure enough, we had won this cruise that we never had any intent of going on. And so in 2020, right before COVID got crazy, we went on our first Love Like You Mean It cruise.
And we really felt like it was God ordained because, number one, like many of you guys, we don't win things. And it was 2019 we entered. It was September probably then when we get this email, congratulations, you won. To Ginger's, I saw it looked like spam. That was the subject line. I almost pushed delete, and I thought, I was curious. I had time to look at junk mail. I opened it up. It was from a radio station, California, and they gave us a balcony view. Great. I mean, it was so nice. And they actually gave us $1,500 for like a travel stipend to get there and back. So kudos to you in California radio station that gave us that in 2020, because it changed the trajectory of our marriage. We had a pretty solid marriage. We've had ups and downs, but it really ignited, I would say, a fire in us and an intentionality in us. And FamilyLife's quote is isolation to oneness to impact. So, but fast forward a little bit, Ginger. So we went in 2020, right before COVID. You said you talked about that.
Yeah.
It was crazy. And what was the history of the cruise at that point? The
history of the cruise at that point, it was their 10-year anniversary of the cruise. And so it was actually
let's share with the listeners a little bit what this cruise means. So what it means is that FamilyLife charters the whole ship.
Yeah. Life is an organization that has been working to help families for many years, 50 years this year, I believe. And so they've always had a vision for marriages and for families and seeing them be strong. And so 15 years ago this year, they started this cruise, and they have always chartered the entire ship. So the whole atmosphere on a Love Like You Mean It cruise is just inundated with things that are supportive for your marriage, things that are there to help you to grow stronger as a couple, things that are there to help you grow stronger to the Lord. And just the entire ship, everything from the programming on your television in your room.
They give you gifts.
To the special nightly gifts that you get on your door every night. Obviously, they bring on speakers and performers.
It was like a conference on the ship. So they bring in these people who talk to you about your marriage, give you tips, give you helpful hints. You talk about sex, you talk about communication, you talk about money,
parenting,
all the parenting, all the pain points that we have in life that cause conflict with marriage.
Yeah.
They have a professional on there who's speaking to it. You mentioned entertainers. Who were some of the entertainers this year?
10th Avenue North was there, Rebecca St. James. Yeah, they have a lot of great talent, Colton Dixon, and they do every year, just a lot of great talent.
Sandy Patty.
Yeah, Sandy Patty.
And a whole bunch of other people.
Yes, yeah. So it's a really unique experience, and because the whole ship is chartered.
And the other thing that happens on it is there's no kids. I love kids. I have 6 of them. I love them all dearly. But it's really nice to get away with your spouse in an environment where they're not there. And because the whole environment is marriage related, everybody you're rubbing shoulders with is there to guide you.
Yeah.
We met a couple in Illinois this year, and we'll probably be friends for life. Another couple out of New Mexico. But we just meet these people either on an excursion or right outside the elevator.
Yeah. On your way to a session or whatever. It's a really neat atmosphere.
Ginger, what would you say has been one of your favorite memories on the cruise?
I think that's a hard question because I don't know if I could pick just one memory, but it's more of probably my favorite thing overall is just the focused time together. And you can experience that on any vacation that you take as a couple, but it's not just focused time together, it's very intentional time together. So not only do we have an opportunity to relax and reconnect, which is really important, but we also have a chance to learn and grow together. So yeah, it's hard for me to pick just a single memory, but I think just the intentionality of it is really what sets it apart. Yeah.
The other thing I really appreciate about it is worshiping.
Mm-hmm.
Typically, this cruise is made up of older couples. There's a lot more older couples. But it's interesting because it's just fun to be in a room praising Jesus, singing Amazing Grace or whatever, with all these couples who have one hand up and the other hand around their spouse.
I will say that every year at the end of the week, there's a vow renewal, and it's a mass vow renewal. Everyone who wants to participate is there together, and we all say our vows to each other in mass. And that is pretty special. There's always a lot of tears, always a lot of emotion with that. And that's definitely a core memory, I think, from every time.
Could you tell them about the history made this year?
Yeah. So this year was especially neat because FamilyLife had done a lot of work on the back end to be able to have our vow renewal that happens at the end of the week to be an attempt for a Guinness World Record. And so they had done a lot of work getting everyone's marriage certificates and things like that. There was an official there from the Guinness World Records to make sure everything was how it was supposed to be. But we did. So we broke the Guinness World Record for the most vow renewals at one time. And so that was pretty neat as well.
The other thing that is fun is, for those of you who have been on a cruise, something I really appreciate about it is once you get on the cruise, all the decisions are made for you. So you don't have to think about where you're going to eat or any of that stuff. And so something I appreciate is being able to just go to the buffet and we can do whatever we want. But the other thing that's really nice, and that is the dining, the restaurants. And they have these really specialty high-end restaurants, at least in my opinion, high-end restaurants, where you can get in my opinion, a $50 plate of food. But the other thing that happens with that is you get to sit with other couples. So this year we sat with a couple from Michigan, And we really got to know them well. They were actually some friends that we'd known before, but rekindled that relationship. And now we're encouraging each other in our marriages and our commitments.
And I think that brings up a really important point. It's not whether your marriage is currently really good or whether it's currently on the rocks. Like all of us could use encouragement and accountability and just the sense that we're not doing this alone. And so I think that what you hit on, like the conversations we would have during our evening dining times, you just walk away really encouraged, and you can talk about these things pretty openly because that is the point of being on a ship, is to improve your marriage. Whereas in a different setting, someone might pretend like everything's fine when it's not. In that setting, I feel like openness is really easy to get real with people because that's why we're there, right? Is to make our marriages better. So if there's something that needs shared, I feel like there's a safe place for that.
And I do want to rewind just a little bit and tell you guys, I mean, you guys might think I have an awesome marriage, and I do, but it hasn't always been this great. We had lots of struggles in our past. And it was actually through going through to a local one in Oklahoma City, David Paul trip.
Oh, marriage conference.
Paul David trip. And it was because we were struggling.
Yeah.
And we needed a little pick me up. And so it was really good. So maybe the whole Love Like You Mean It cruise is out. Maybe you get seasick. I get that. But I want to tell you guys from my own experience, that was probably 2017-ish.
Yeah.
2016, 2017. We went to a conference to be intentional and to focus on our marriage. We were heavy into having kids at the time, and it really revolutionized our marriage.
Yeah.
I'm not saying you guys should do a Love You Mean It cruise. I want you to give it some thought. I really enjoy it. But think about investing in your marriage. Think about being intentional. Think about going to conferences. But Ginger, what are some other things that you can see that we have done over the years to strengthen our marriage?
Well, something we've done in recent years is just a weekly date night, which I think has been really good. And there's some seasons that it's much harder to do that in than others, and we weren't good at it for a long time. But I think that oftentimes for us, that's very simple, but it's just that intentional connection once a week that is just very valuable. I think another thing is that we keep working on praying together regularly. That's something that we're still working on, but I know that it definitely creates closeness when we do that. And it's hard to be mad at someone when you're praying with them. So I think that's something that we'll continue to work on.
The other thing I would say, Ginger talked about date nights. I would dig into that. Mm. Ginger, what does a date night look like for us? Give us some idea. Like, is this going to Charleston's? What does a date night look like?
Sometimes it is. Sometimes we go have a nice dinner. Sometimes it's just we go to Boomerang and get half-price burgers and go to the park and just chat about our day or our week or whatever. Sometimes we have date nights that are more like intentional focus to get something done. Sometimes we're planning events or whatever, and we'll use that time. Sometimes we go to Costco and do a big grocery haul. So for us, it's just really the intentional time spent together without children. And I think that those people will say quality over quantity or quantity over quality. I think it's both. I think both are important. It's good to have those really, the big thing is intentionality, just like it's going to build. You're building your marriage with each time that you go and spend focus time together. So it's line upon line, brick upon brick or whatever. And the little evenings spent together, even if it's a date night at home, maybe we're
watching a movie.
Sometimes we'll be like, it's not a good time for us to go out. And so
put the kids to bed early?
Yeah, we might do like an ultra running documentary together or something like that. But all of those things over time create closeness, and that helps us to be ready to weather the storms that come along.
I would say they also just put deposits in the bank.
Yeah.
In the book Love and Respect, they talk about that. Needing to put deposits in the bank. And when you have it on the calendar, like for us, Monday night seems to be the best because there's not a lot of interference, a lot of competition. So for us, Monday night is date night. Our kids know that. They actually ask, where are you guys going? So they expect it from us. But that's what I would say is put it on the calendar, find a date that works, make it non-negotiable. And sometimes, yeah, it is a in-home date. Sometimes it's a Costco run. It's fine. Costco for us is 40-minute drive, that's windshield time.
Oh, yeah.
And that's talking, and our kids know that.
Yep.
So, Ginger, can we talk a little bit about Weekend Remembers? Because
Sure.
Weekend Remembers it was our first introduction to family life.
Yeah.
So could you talk a little bit about Weekend Remembers as just an opportunity for listeners?
Sure. So FamilyLife also does a weekend conference for married couples called Weekend to Remember, and they have them all over the country and in Canada also. And it's really just a great weekend to get away and learn some really solid, good marriage tips. And there's also a date night that's scheduled. So you get to have just a romantic date. There's some special things that you get to do to really express love to your spouse. And we actually went on the first one after we'd been married only 6 months, because your parents had this really cool thing that they would do every time one of their kids get married. They send them on a weekend to remember. And so they had said, we'll send you on a weekend to remember. We were living in northern Montana at the time. So we ended up going to Canada for our weekend to remember, our first one. And it was just really great. And I feel like 6 months in, we didn't have a ton of issues in our marriage, but I still remember our biggest takeaway from that weekend. Over 20 years later, I still remember it. And it was, they told us the importance of, in the midst of a conflict, looking at your spouse and saying, you are not my enemy. And that was a great takeaway, because oftentimes when we're in a conflict with our spouse, we do feel like they are our enemy.
Because what happened is once we won the cruise, once God got our attention, said, I want you on the cruise. We said, hey, we're going to do this cruise every other year.
Yeah.
And we're going to do a marriage conference every other year. So that was our commitment. That was a big takeaway. That was a commitment I would say we made on that cruise, 2020. And so in 21, we went to Branson, Missouri, where there was a weekend remember. And Branson's just a fun place. It was fun to be back in the weekend remember circle.
And I think it's just really a really good opportunity for someone who's maybe doesn't have the resources for Love Like You Mean It, or it just isn't ready for something that long, or maybe has really young children or whatever. The weekends to remember are all over the country. So it's likely that there's one within driving distance for wherever you are. And it's relatively affordable. You're paying for a weekend, and just some really great information shared, and just a great opportunity to reconnect with your spouse.
Yeah. Ginger, what do you think is some of the best marriage advice you have received, either from a book or from a conference or from anything?
Okay. Do you really want to hear it?
She's getting train red.
Okay. The first one is, I think, one of those things that has stuck with me. I'm going to share 3 things. Can I share 3 things? Okay. The first one is, your spouse is not your enemy. Recognize who the true enemy is, and we know who that is. Satan is not our spouse. So recognize your spouse, not the enemy. Another really pivotal thing, I think, is just about speaking life over your spouse. And I've heard that multiple times through the years, and it's something to continue to work on and continually need to be reminded of. But
I had to sit Ginger down on the cruise and apologize for this, because I have a tendency to be randy and not speak life and love. And so confession time on the cruise, I was crying and repenting about this one.
But just to say, that's one of the beautiful things that can happen in that space, is you are confronted with the things you need to work on, and you actually have the opportunity to work on them. So yeah, so your spouse is not your enemy. Speak life over each other. Our words have the power of life or death. So those are very powerful. And the third one is, this is why I was laughing a little bit, is years ago as a young wife, I remember a woman a little older than me telling me the importance of your sex life in your marriage. And she said, a marriage can have a lot of things not going right in it, but if this area is good, then it can weather more. So those are 3 things that I think throughout the years have stuck with me. And not that I always do them perfectly at all, but they are things that have been very helpful that we've learned through the years.
That's good. I think for me, a big one is just intentionality. And I remember at that first conference we went to, they talked about how your marriage needs maintenance, just like your car needs maintenance. And that takes intentionality.
Yeah.
And so I think that's probably where we were first encouraged to do weekly date nights. And we did it for many years. The reality is we just didn't do it So I think that's one thing I would add to your list is be intentional with your marriage. It's not gonna be easy. We expect it to be easy because we watch Hollywood's version of a marriage and it's butterfly, it's easy, but that's just not reality. And so I think we need to expect it to be hard so that we are better prepared. And with that comes intentionality. The other thing I would emphasize, and we all have access to this, like I'm really encouraging my listeners, you guys right now, to consider the Love Like You Mean It cruise. But if you can't do either one of those, you guys can get a thing called Audible, and you can listen to marriage books.
Yes. Yeah.
And marriage books are compiled of people who have 15, 20 years of experience and all their expertise, and they put it into a 5-hour listen on Audible, and you could take one nugget from that and you could revolutionize your marriage. Yeah. So that's what I would add is be intentional in your marriage, realize it's going to take maintenance. So date nights, conferences, but you could also just do it with books, podcasts.
Yeah, for sure.
And learn and improve. What is a marriage book that you have read that you would encourage listeners to pick up and read?
I'm thinking of several. One just really good classic is Love and Respect. I think that one can be really life-changing for people if they apply it. And I think that's one where if you start applying the principles, oftentimes you can see a change pretty quickly in your marriage, especially if there's been some pretty big walls built. So Love and Respect is super good. I also really like Vertical Marriage. That one is really good.
They were episode like 150 on here.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
Roughly. I don't remember.
Yeah. Yeah. But there are a lot of really good marriage books. I know earlier on in our marriage, we really liked the book Sheet Music. That's a book about sexuality and marriage. How We Love is one we've read more recently. That one's really good about helping you to understand how you respond to your spouse and where that's coming from. That can be really helpful in just understanding each other better and yourself.
Yeah. But read books, get on podcasts, improve your marriage. And I remember years ago, a friend of mine said to me, he said he was divorced and remarried, and he said, I wish I had known that marriage was just hard. Because he said, I got remarried and I found out the same issues I had the first time I was having again. This time he was a little more mature and he was able to stick it out.
Yeah.
But he literally just didn't understand that it takes time and it's hard. So lean into those things.
Yeah.
Do the hard.
Yeah. That makes me think about our son Lazarus, the first time that he did a cold plunge. He went in, he was really excited about it. He was very upset because it was so painful, but he didn't realize that was how it was and that everyone else was experiencing the same pain. Like he thought something was wrong with him. But once he realized this is how it is, it's hard, it hurts. He's done many more of them since and really been really tough about it. So I think marriage can be similar in that, like you said, we have a Hollywood idea in our heads of what marriage should be like. And then when it's not like that, we think, oh, there's something wrong without recognizing it's kind of par for the course. Marriage is hard. And I'm not talking about abusive situations or things like that, but just normal difficulties in marriage, normal conflicts and things like that. It comes with the territory. So it's a hard work, but it's a good work. Then I think we're less tempted to walk away from it.
The other thing I think I would really encourage you guys, y'all in your marriage, is to be thinking about impact. And sometimes we're just in survival mode. But if you could be thinking about goals and big things you could do together as a husband and wife for impact, like, there's nothing that draws you together more than that.
Yeah.
And something that is unique about Love Like You Mean It Cruise, I have a bracelet on, it's called Filters of Hope. And we were able this year to not only get on a cruise, but we got to get off in Honduras and do a little mini mission trip. And we gave Filters of Hope, and then we explained the gospel through the symbols here on my bracelet. But think about that as a couple, like, we don't want to just exist. We actually want to impact.
Yeah.
And when we live our life for impact, it's the strongest why you could have, and it motivates you to keep going when the going gets tough and step up and lead and leave a legacy.
Yeah, for sure. And I think, really powerful in regards to when you recognize that your marriage is not just about you. Like, we want to have a good relationship so that our marriage is enjoyable and we're not, but beyond that, our marriage can be a powerful force for good in the world. So once we work through some of our difficulties and we're in a healthier place, then we should be looking at how does God want to use us together? So you working on your marriage is not just about you. It's also about the legacy you leave your children. And it's about the influence you have on people around you and so on.
Yeah. A legacy that I get to live up to is my parents will be celebrating 50 years this year. So
cool.
I'm very proud of them. And it's just cool to celebrate. My parents had 10 kids, and at this point, all 10 are married, and all 10 are married to their original spouse. There's no divorces. So it's quite a legacy, but it's a legacy of two people that were committed. And I can tell you from growing up in the home, there were hard times growing up.
Sure.
And there were difficulties, but my parents were committed, and they were committed to growing, and they were committed to doing date nights. Ginger, as we kind of wrap this up, could you talk about 2027 and the Love Life Community Cruise? Or do you have a bracelet on? You do?
I do. I have a bracelet on that says setting sail on the 2027 cruise.
So what does that mean?
So that means that while we were on the 2026 cruise, we signed up for the 2027 cruise.
It's the cheapest time to do it.
It is the best time to do it financially, but we also feel like when we have that on the calendar a year out, like we know that it's coming, it's something to look forward to, it's already planned. So we don't have to think, oh, what are we going to do as a couple getaway this year or whatever. It's already scheduled. And
it costs like $10 a day to do it that way.
Yeah. Yep. So really,
it's 2 trips to Starbucks.
Yeah, every day.
One.
Yeah, or one, depending on what you get. But yeah, if you are interested in it, then signing up now means that you could be making monthly payments, which is doable for a lot of people. And it just gives us that to look forward to.
And the other thing I'm going to tell you is I do know that the FamilyLife right now is running a special.
Mm-hmm.
So the sooner you get on board with that, the better.
Yes, I think it's $400 off a couple now through the end of the month.
So look them up. And now what I would like to offer is we love marriages. We love strengthening marriages, and we love to send people to stuff like this. So what I'm going to do, I would like any listener who's interested in going to a weekend to remember to reach out to me at Marty@killcomplacency.life. Marty@killcomplacency.life. This will be in the show notes. And send me an email and just say, I want to go to Weekend to Remember. And we will find one near you. And we will put your name in a drawing, and we'll be drawing for that on May 31st. And if you send me an email, we will put you in, and then we will go from there.
That's exciting.
So thank you guys. And please give it some consideration and think about what you can do to improve your marriage.
Send it to you, Marty.
Love you, Ginger.
Love you too.
Just wanted to thank you guys for listening to the end. In closing, I just wanted to add that if this message resonates with you, if it aligns with your values, and something in it today triggered something, then you can also look me up on Facebook, LinkedIn, Instagram, YouTube. We are really trying to help people live more intentional lives to kill the complacency with which they have subscribed to. I know there's many ways which I get sucked in all the time. So if this is beneficial, follow me there.